Hello everyone, this is Untitled Chapter. Welcome to another Modpack overview, this time on tweaks, tech and terrain. A Modpack that simply focuses on a bunch of tech, a few aspects of exploration, and obviously some tweak-like stuff. So certain quality of life or certain other smaller things, besides just adding in a bunch of blocks and items and tools and armor and so on. So in GEI, you can see we have a few things such as those from Accelerator Craft to speed up things. So if you want something to fish for you, or you want the growth of crops to be faster, or machines to be faster, you can. There's Aesthetic Nether, which pretty much adds in a bunch of certain blocks and a mob for the Nether, so slightly expanding things. You've got Air Hop to add pretty much an enchantment to allow you to jump across. So for example, if I was wanting to, instead of just sort of sinking here, I would be able to obviously move around no problem a distance. You've got big buckets if you want to have multiple instead of having multiple buckets, you would have one that can pretty much carry however many of a fluid. So for example, if I just get some buckets here, oops, that's not what I wanted, so I do this, and I can keep expanding it like so, and it'll get more and more larger in the capacity area, and obviously I can store more and more water. So if I just do this, I can store more and more water in one bucket instead of the need to have multiple taking up my inventory space. So moving along, of course, you've got a chunk loader, which you simply just place in the world, and it'll load the chunks around you, doing things. So good if you're mining, and obviously you want to have your machines or other things like redstone contraptions or your crops doing things. You've got compact experience bottles for compacting experience. You want to store it and then obviously use it later. You've got crafting automat for auto crafting. You've got deep dark ocean mod, which adds in tools, armor, a dimension, a bunch of blocks, as well as obviously a few mobs and a octopus boss, or squid boss, sorry, and a mountable manta ray, and a few other components and things. You've got dim storage for adding in a dimensional chest and tank, as well as a bunch of other components, and the ability to access these with a tablet, so you can use those for certain things for items and fluids. You've got disenchanting for disenchanting, or disenchanting table, sorry, not disenchanter. You've got dynamite stick for throwing dynamite, so if you want to throw TNT, as well as a launcher. You've got egg-centric engineering for pretty much egg farms, as well as chicken legs. You've got electrona, which adds in a few ores and alloys and materials, as well as battery, some other components, some cables, and different machines such as a compressor. You've got a heat generator, you've got a teleporter, you've got an XP generator, you've got solar panels, and more. You've got forestry for adding in a bunch of different trees that are based on resources, mostly vanilla ones, and you can use these to then make obviously fences or other types of woods, or you can use them to pretty much smelt to get the resource out of it, I'm pretty sure. So you use a blast furnace with tin, you can get tin ingots from it. Otherwise, you've got obviously different saplings and so on you can make. I think you can find them in the world, but for the most part, probably best to make them if you have a sapling, and then coal blocks, or if you have silk touch, you can on certain ores. Otherwise, you've got gates, which adds in a bunch of expanded areas for redstone. As well as obviously a rain detector and a transmitter. You've got get in the bucket for pretty much adding in the ability for you to carry mobs using a bucket, making it easier to just pick up a wandering trader and then move them. So there. You've got gold panning if you want to have the ability to get gold easily, obviously on water or sand or so, in a way. You've got grinder for adding in additional dusts, as well as a bunch of grindstones, which you can use for early game ore doubling. You've got Guardscraft for adding in a bunch of different mobs and a few other weapons and such. So if you want to use the additional weapons, you can. As well as obviously having a bunch of guards that you can recruit to sort of help you in a way, or either just fit a theme for a, a bunch of protective forces around a castle or something, or a tower also. But yeah, you can have them fight with you if you want, and just recruit them with crowns using the following recruitment blocks or desks. Hidden chests adds a hidden stone chest. So if you want a chest that can allow you to have it blend in with stone, you can. You've got infinite water source for adding a water source, so you can obviously use a bucket of water on, I assume. You can get infinite water from easily. Next, if we move on, we have lattice lamps for adding in pretty much higher than torch and glowstone light level coverage blocks, as well as obviously a few other aspects. There's no gas centrifuge in this one though. So you pretty much just make the resources by crafting pretty much. You've got flower breeding for adding in additional flowers and seeds, so if you want a bunch of different options there, you have that. So you can grow them or breed them to different colors. You have candles, you have clematis and so on. You've got low-tech quarries for adding in additional quarries or drills, so if you want to for mining. A bunch of components for it as well. You've got magic doorknob, which adds the ability for you to pretty much use to get through blocks, so I can walk through here if I want to. If I can actually get through here, there we go. So you can walk through spaces, and I think you can on the other side get it, but I'll just get it from here, and then it just doesn't do much else with the block otherwise. There's that. So you can just walk through blocks, no problem. So you get through mountains easy, or I guess sort of push into a certain point and then start mining. So it makes it easier to go in and out of certain areas without the need to mine, and probably stop other players from following you. You've got Man Catcher as another way of catching mobs besides the buckets. You've got Nature's Flowers as another type of flower mod, but I think maybe adds its own biomes and other such things. As well as tools and armor. You've got Near Arsenal for adding in the ability for you to make powered tools. You've got Nether Quartz Plus for adding in certain tools and compressed Nether Quartz and a Quartz Chest. You've got Network 2 for adding in additional machines and components and materials and such to do certain other things like fertilization, time changing, drills, and adding in a generator and such. You've got obviously Spike Trap and a few other things. You've got Omega Craft for certain materials, and we don't need to do that for the sake of mobs attacking, probably. You've got Omega Craft for adding in a ton of different machines and generators and upgradable elements. You've got upgrades, you've got different tiers of machines, you've got generators for either the sun, the moon, rain, light sources around it, so precipitation for rain, and a dark one. And then you've got obviously a bunch of different machines from combining, compacting, grinding, plate making, alloy making, smelting, and so on, long distance power, and a few other things. And then you've obviously got a bunch of other elements with oil and certain other stuff. Next we've got Quartz Chest, adding in a chest that you can use to then present certain things like text, bolding, and so on. Decorating it however you want with different colors if you want. So just go say something like that. We can put text right there. So just say quartz, like so, and then we can put, say, a block or item here as an icon to say this is what that's related to, and so on. And obviously the text and other stuff you can change with upgrades. You've got quirky generators for adding in root eating, gravity, and butcher generator. You've got a basic tank as another mod to add a tank compared to a Mega Craft. And you've got rocket boots for adding in the ability to fly, and then obviously there's components to make the boots, and there's a enchantment for certain benefits with it. You've got simple timber axes, which adds obviously the ability for you to use axes that can fell trees. Driftwood for adding in additional wood that you can find on shorelines, I think. Tesseract for obviously interacting with items, blocks, fluids, and so on, and something else besides dim storage. Tin cans for obviously adding in food you can put in cans. Tree grower for adding in a block that you can pretty much get resources from trees, but I think it doesn't sort of do too much outside of it, or it spawns on top, or it's just centralized in the block for the resources. And you got tubes reloaded for item transport and filtering and such. And then when you get into some of the other stuff, you've got other things like Towers of the Wild for structures. You've got the campfire mod for putting ores on campfires. You've got improvement to rain for crops. You've got the ability to use the locate biome command. You've got catching mobs with books. You've got damage indicators. You've got hammers. You've got the ability to manipulate blocks with certain ones. A magnetized nether star. Sort of the display element you saw on the side when I was holding one of the other blocks or so. It tells you a bunch of information about things, items and blocks, and if they're enchanted or they can be repaired, what its technical name is, and also as well a light overlay. And there's really a bunch of other stuff like things being put in ice, locating a chest, if you saw this sort of green thing when I was using the doorknob, and obviously a bunch of other things like named areas and ice preventing crop growth and vexes in there. And also as well, we saw when I was jumping in the water that you do take damage because there is sunlight damage, courtesy of Sunlight Crisis. So yeah, pretty much a sort of mixed pack of a bunch of different elements. And obviously you got things for interacting with ender chests with the eye key. But yeah, thanks so much for watching, and goodbye.